What's up YouTube, I'm Guy, and today on the channel we are reviewing, obviously, a Hamilton watch, as the title would suggest. Before we talk about that watch though, I want to send a big thank you over to the guys in the Hamilton Watch Owners group on Facebook. They have sent me over, a few of the guys over there have sent me over a couple of watches, Hamilton watches, to review on my YouTube channel. I really appreciate the support that they've given me. Great group over there. If you're a fan of Hamilton watches like I am, I do urge you to go over to that Facebook group and join up. Great group, lots of good Hamilton watch discussions. I highly recommend it. That said, today we are checking out a Hamilton Jazzmaster Viewmatic Automatic. Is that right? Yeah, that's a mouthful. Hamilton Jazzmaster Viewmatic Auto, or Automatic. Reference number on this watch is H32715531. It is, in most regards, a really cool watch. Probably the only real negative that I have to say about it right up front is the size. This is somewhat of an awkward size for me. But the Jazzmaster collection of watches has a number of, what will we call them? Sub-collections, subgroups? How will we say this? The Jazzmaster series has a number of collections. That's how I would describe it. So within the series of Jazzmaster watches, there is a number of collections, including the Viewmatic collection. Within the Viewmatic collection, there are a number of different watches in different sizes, designs, form factors. So while this one in particular is a little bit big for me, that I find the size a little bit awkward, that's not going to say that there isn't most certainly something within the Jazzmaster Viewmatic series that I would like. I've looked through the catalog and dozens of watches ranging in sizes all the way down to 34 millimeters, I think, for ladies, up to 44 millimeters in this case, and pretty much everything in between. Hamilton is really good about offering a wide range of selection vis-a-vis sizes and designs. So there's almost always going to be something for somebody in the Hamilton catalog. That's one thing that I love about this brand. Similarly, that's why a lot of people love Seiko, I think. They make really good quality watches at affordable prices, and there's a wide breadth of selection. I feel like Hamilton is exactly the same in that regard. Alright guys, so here we are checking out the Hamilton Jazzmaster Viewmatic Automatic, or Auto, reference H32715531. This watch has an MSRP retail price of $795, but I have looked around online on Amazon and other common watch retailers. I find it for around $500, maybe slightly less. So I think given the quality of this watch, a sub $500 price point is probably right around what I would expect. Now, as I had mentioned in the introduction, the only really shortcoming for me on this watch is going to be the size. The dimensions on this watch are a little bit too big for me. I think if you have a bigger wrist, somewhere in the 7.5 plus inch range, up to 8 inches, this is going to fit you perfectly. But for me, on the short side of 7 inches, yeah, it's just a little bit too big. We have a case diameter of 44 millimeters. At least that's what it reads on Hamilton's spec sheet. But depending on where I measure from, it's actually bigger. You can see that on the right-hand side of the case here, there's these sort of integrated crown guards in the case. But it's the entire right-hand side of the case here. If I measure from there, I get a measurement of well over 45 millimeters. So I don't know where they're measuring from to get that 44 millimeter case diameter on their spec sheet, but in my experience, it's actually even a little bit bigger than 44. Another overly oversized dimension is the lug width here where the strap attaches. I get a measurement of 23 millimeters, just a really weird kind of awkward size for your lug width. 22 would have been obviously optimal. Even 24 might have been better if you're looking for the availability of straps on the aftermarket. Finding a 23 is going to be tough. Now the thickness is okay, coming in at about 12 millimeters. That's maybe slightly thicker than you'd want for a dress style watch, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. On the other hand, the case is lug-to-lug width, or the length from one extremity to the other, from left to right, from top to bottom. We are looking at 54 millimeters. That's pretty excessive. Again, for somebody like me that's a little bit smaller wristed. That said, the overall presentation, the style, the aesthetic, I think it's a beautiful watch. And I'll talk about this more in the outro or the final thoughts. But if you look at this watch, what does it remind you of? It kind of reminds me of the Seiko SARB033. That's a watch everyone's disappointed has been discontinued. Well, take a look at the Hamilton Jazzmaster collection. There might be something in there like this that would be an excellent alternative to that Seiko SARB033, recently discontinued. Now moving right along, the basic features on this watch: stainless steel case, we have 100-meter water resist, and of course we have a sapphire crystal. Now I say this in pretty much every single Hamilton review, and I'm going to have to say it here. You get a lot of glare on this sapphire crystal, as you can see as I pan it around my studio. If I point it directly at my camera, you can see it reflecting in that crystal. You can see my ceiling fan, everything. Lots and lots of reflection and glare in the crystal. There's a common complaint with Hamilton crystals. I say it every single time. I don't know why it feels like there's so much more glare and reflection in Hamilton crystals than any other watch, but it's a fact. It's just the way it's always been in my experience. Now when you catch it in good light, like it is right here, it looks fantastic. It's a very crisp, clear, clean crystal. Just lots of reflection. We also get an exhibition case back here. This is the older version of this watch. So as you can probably tell, if you know what you're looking at, this is the ETA 2824-2. The current generation of this watch uses Hamilton's caliber H10. More or less, it's the same movement. The H10 is a modified ETA movement that adds a whole bunch of extra power reserve, up to 80 hours if I'm not mistaken, at the cost of the beat rate. The ETA 2824 that's in this watch will beat at 28,800 vibrations per hour. On the other hand, that caliber H10 movement has been changed to have a beat rate of 21,600. Which do I prefer? Honestly, I prefer the H10. I have, in my experience, seen much more accurate watches come with the H10 movement than with the ETA movement, for whatever reason. That's just been my experience, and in doing a little bit of research online, most people seem to agree with that statement. So I will sacrifice the beat rate, that 28,800 vibrations per hour, smooth sweeping second hand, for the extra power reserve and what I believe to be true, a better accuracy in general. This watch also does have, obviously, a 3-hand display with date over at the 3 o'clock position. The handset and hour markers are very, very lightly lumed. And of course it comes on this brown leather strap. And as you can see, this, again, since it's an older model on loan, 2 years old I believe the owner said he's had it for. Yeah, the strap's got a little bit of wear on it. But it's a nice strap with a Hamilton signed buckle, as we can see there. Overall, good quality strap. 23mm lugs, though. It's going to be hard to find a replacement for this strap, if I'm being honest. That's my guess. Now, we did talk about the Lume, and I'll bring in a quick picture here. Another negative about Hamilton watches in general, the Lume's not great. It is very sparingly applied, not very bright, not very long lasting. That's the case with every Hamilton watch that I've ever reviewed. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't care. Lume is not important to me really at all. It's something that I talk about in my reviews because I know a lot of you guys like to know how is the Lume, blah blah blah, whatever. But for me personally, I don't care. Lume would never be a purchase decision for me when I'm buying a watch. So, that this watch has comparatively poor Lume to some other options on the market is irrelevant to me, but you know, just want to let you guys know because I know some people do care. That's my 2 cents on that. The crown over at the 3 o'clock side is signed with the Hamilton H, which is very typical for Hamilton watches. It's not a screw down crown, but it is hand winding, and of course, being an ETA 2824-2 movement, it is also hacking. We can pull the crown out to the second position. In order to halt the movement, you can see the second hand stops running. We can set the time to whatever we'd like and re-engage the crown down in to start the movement right back up. I did mention that this does have a date complication over at the 3 o'clock position. It's unadorned with any sort of outline embellishments or framing, just a white date disc or wheel with black text hidden underneath that Very nice black dial. Speaking of the dial, this is, the main event for this watch. I think it's a really nice design. We have, first of all, kind of a Dauphine handset. The second hand is interesting in that the counterbalance side has a little, I don't know, arrowhead, I guess I would describe that as. On the, again, on the counterbalance side, a little bit different. Otherwise, it's very thin, needle-like second hand. And again, the hour and minute hands are these very nice, sort of high-polished Dauphine-style hands. There's a little bit of Lume inset on the centers, as you can see there. All of the hour markers have a sliver of Lume at the centers as well, and they're sort of wedged out of almost broad arrowhead style hour markers. The graduations on the outer chapter ring, I really like. Hamilton does this on a lot of their watches. I like that very technical, almost busy chapter ring with those intricate millisecond graduations. And then on the very outside, you have the Arabic numerals 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on for each of the minutes or seconds, depending on how you're looking at it. Down at the very bottom, we have Swiss made to the left and right of the 6 o'clock marker. The branding on the dial is very plain printed. There seems to be, nothing applied. Hamilton across the top and automatic on the bottom. Overall, though, a very nice jet black dial. I like it a lot. I like the presentation, the handset, the markers, the chapter ring with those nice intricate little graduations for each millisecond. Even the date window with its basically unadorned and undecorated presentation. I think it all looks really good. The strap on this watch is a brown leather strap. It does have like a, crocodile or alligator grain to it, though certainly it's not an actual authentic crocodile strap. It's just probably an embossed print on some sort of calf or cow leather. It's a nice strap though. Quality is really good. Obviously it's fairly well worn in, but lined on the underside. Hamilton, you can see that it's marked 23 for the lug width. There's the reference number for the strap, if you can read that. The buckle, as I had pointed out, is a nice stainless steel buckle with the Hamilton signed logo on it. Overall, yeah, it's a great little presentation. I like the strap. It's good quality. I've always been impressed with Hamilton straps, honestly. Oh, obviously we have contrast stitching here. That goes without mentioning. But yeah, it's a great quality strap. Again, always I have been impressed with the leather that comes on Hamilton straps. So what are my final thoughts on this Hamilton Jazzmaster Viewmatic Auto? Reference H32715531. Well, I like it, other than, again, the awkward size. It's just a little bit too big for me at 44-ish millimeters in diameter, 23 millimeter lugs, 54 millimeters lug to lug. Just overall, the whole thing is a little bit too big for me. If you're somebody with that maybe 7.5 to 8 inch or bigger wrist, I think that this is probably going to be a great fit for you. Unfortunately, I am on the wrong side of 7 inches when it comes to my wrist, so I would be more interested in something in the sub 40 millimeter diameter, which they have plenty of options in their catalog. So if this was something that I was looking for, I'm sure I could find something in the Jazzmaster Viewmatic line that would work perfectly for me. Now, other things about this watch. Something that's, I guess, kind of cool, not necessarily about this watch only, but Hamilton in general. I think people kind of like this about Hamilton. It maybe is something that they feel like they can identify with. This watch and all of Hamilton watches are often featured in movies. This one in particular was featured in the 2013, I had to look at my notes, Die Hard movie, A Good Day to Die Hard. That was the 5th Die Hard movie. It was worn on the wrist of Bruce Willis's character, John McClane, of course. So yeah, like all of Hamilton watches that get put into movies, it's very, very common. This one is no different. Unfortunately, the 5th Die Hard movie, not so good. They started to jump the shark there in the end. But I'm a huge fan of the John McClane character. I'm a huge fan of the earlier Die Hard movies, so it was cool to find out that this watch was in fact featured in one of those movies. Something else that I kind of noted about this watch, and I'll bring up a picture of side by side. So the Seiko SARB033 was discontinued not too long ago. That is a fan favorite Seiko automatic JDM watch. The SARB033 was coming in at a price point of around $400. So this Hamilton watch is a little bit more expensive at, I see them online for just under $500, but People are really disappointed that that SARB033 has been discontinued. The Seiko we're talking about. This Viewmatic and a number of the other Jazzmaster watches would honestly make fantastic alternatives to that Seiko watch. If you missed the boat on the Seiko SARB033, take a look at the Hamilton Jazzmaster series. Look at all of the different collections under that series of watches. There is most certainly, including this one, a number of really great alternatives. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this review up. I appreciate you tuning in. I would like to end this again by saying thanks to the guys over at the Hamilton Watch Owners group on Facebook. And if you're a fan of Hamilton watches, please go over there and join that Facebook group and participate in the conversations that go down there every day, all day long. It's a great little group. If you want to help support the channel, down in the description, there's a number of ways that you can do that. Number one, becoming a Patreon is a great help to me. Number two, following me on all of my social media accounts. And finally, number three, the easiest thing that you can do to help support the channel is to simply shop on Amazon. Everybody shops on Amazon, and if you click my Amazon affiliate or associate link before you do your regular Amazon shopping, I get a small commission. You don't necessarily have to buy anything that I've reviewed, although you're welcome to. Anything at all that you buy, be it dog food, new shoes, a book, it doesn't really matter. I get a small commission, and that really does add up. It really does help support the channel. It brings in funds that I can use to help progress the content that we're making here. So, those are some ways that you can help support me. If you want to do any of those, I would be extremely appreciative. And yeah, until later on this week, I'll see you later. Bye now.